With fantastic beasts and where to find them, J.K. Rowling is taking her magic across the pond to the good old US of A. In the upcoming movie, which is the first of 5, we'll get to explore a whole new continent. But while Rowling was fleshing out her wider wizarding world by unleashing mythical beasts on 1920s New York, fans were digging deep into the existing world of Harry Potter, reading between the lines and presenting fascinating new perspectives on the stories we know and love. While these fan theories are unlikely to make it into Potter canon, that's not stopped us from digging through the weirdest and wildest ones out there. So here are 5 Harry Potter theories that are genuinely convincing.
This one's a little out there, but wins major points for melding the real world with the Potterverse. Reddit user Nacho Bitch posits that J.K. Rowling is actually Rita Skeeter. For those who may not remember, Skeeter is the enchantingly nasty witch/journalist that is known for writing porkies in the Daily Prophet. Nacho presents the idea that Skeeter developed a bad reputation in the magical community after years of writing stories based on bad sources and half-truths. To get away from this, she took refuge among the Muggles, where she made ends meet by writing stories under the name J.K. Rowling. Although her work continues to be based on the wizarding world, she takes considerable creative liberties, which is why the magical powers that be leave her to it. I mean, who's gonna believe that you can access a whole different world by running at a wall in King's Cross Station? Millions of people. That's who. Anyway, we're quite fond of this theory, as it ties back into the idea that a universe of magic exists, but us Muggles just aren't hip to it. Maybe J.K. Rowling is Rita Skeeter. There's kind of a resemblance. Rita is perhaps a little more pasty though. I knew it!
Fine day, Sunday. In my opinion, best day of the week. No post on Sunday.
The Dursleys are the family that Potter fans love to hate. From giving our beloved Harry dodgy haircuts, hand-me-down clothes, a piddly cupboard beneath the stairs for a bedroom, and just generally being mean, they were the jerks that made his formative years hell. But what if I told you that it wasn't necessarily their fault, and that they were under the influence of some seriously dark magic? Like a Horcrux. Alright, context time. A Horcrux is an object in which a dark wizard has hidden a fragment of his or her soul for the nefarious purpose of attaining immortality. Voldemort split his soul into 7 Horcruxes, including Tom Riddle's diary, items belonging to the founders of the houses of Hogwarts, his giant creepy snake Nagini, and of course, inside the boy who lived. Now, the fragment of the soul inside the Horcrux doesn't just idly rest inside its new home. It's capable of dangerous magic, such as the ability to influence and possess those in their close vicinity. Ginny opens the Chamber of Secrets while under the influence of Riddle's diary, and Ron turns into a right whiny bitch when he carries Salazar Slytherin's locket. Tumblr user Graphic Nerdity, who has the greatest online handle I've ever heard of, noted that if a Horcrux can influence and possess those around it after just a few weeks, imagine what it could get up to after, say, 10 or 11 years? As Harry is technically a Horcrux, he'd be unwittingly pumping out dark, negative vibes to his immediate family, resulting in their horrible treatment of him over the years. So what, I'm supposed to like the Dursleys now? I'm supposed to feel sorry for them? It's not gonna happen, okay? You can't make me.
These are dark times, there is no denying. Our world has perhaps faced no greater threat than it does today.
Have you ever wondered why the Minister of Magic needs to keep the Prime Minister informed of the latest goings-on in the wizarding world? Maybe it's because, a long time ago, Muggles actually defeated wizards, and the magical world is secretly governed by them. This is the basis of a theory created by Celeritas355, who noticed that the Ministry of Magic feels more like a department within a larger government than its own governing body. And it's kinda weird that there's no elections to figure out who should lead the ministry. Instead, someone's just appointed by some unseen force. This could also explain why there are so few powerful wizards anymore. There is Dumbledore, but his power pales in comparison to the pure-blooded Peverell family or Nicholas Flamel, who created the Sorcerer's Stone. Dumbledore can't do that. In fact, No one can do it to Flamel's level. Maybe Muggles killed off the most powerful wizards, pulled the Library of Alexandria on their advanced magic, and then set up the Ministry to control wizards. By doing this, they've essentially placed a muzzle on the wizarding world, while also creating the illusion that they are in charge of their own world. This would also explain why so much of the magical world is bogged down in antiquated rules and is so heavily regulated. Spells and important artifacts need to be registered and tracked, so the focus is on enshrining and preserving existing knowledge instead of developing it further. It also creates a separation between the two worlds, so wizards never quite grasp the potential of modern Muggle technology, which could tip the balance of control if they did. Imagine wizards in cars doing drive-bys with Uzis and wands. They'd take over the world overnight, and then tweet about it. It's a theory that digs into a time that hasn't been explored very much in the Harry Potter books. But more than that, it has this really dark, compelling undertone. I don't know about you, but I'd love to see a story about a war between Muggles and wizards, or one set in the future where a wizard unravels the Muggle conspiracy.
Don't be a brat. Do him.
I love any kind of fan theory that has a dedicated website, so I'd like to alert your attention to Draco Malfoy is a werewolf.com. Let's review the evidence that Brittany and Nick from Draco Malfoy is a werewolf.com have put forward. They point out that throughout the 6th book, there's an ongoing storyline that Draco is super stressed out, and generally a little bit sickly looking. We put it down to the bad thing that Draco does at the end of that book, but maybe it's actually because he got bitten by a werewolf. Specifically Fenrir Greyback, a truly evil werewolf who wants to contaminate as many young witches and wizards with his affliction as possible. In particular, he bites the children of witches and wizards who slight him or Voldemort. He was actually the one who bit Remus Lupin because his father insulted werewolves. Now, we know that Lucius Malfoy failed Voldemort a bunch of times, like the time he inadvertently allowed one of his Horcruxes to get destroyed, or the time that he failed to retrieve a crucial prophecy that Voldemort needed. It would make sense that he would receive suitable punishment, one that was unspeakably terrible. There's some throwaway references to Draco's new affliction as well. Draco shows someone his arm and says that Fenrir Greyback is a close personal friend, and he'd hate for him to have to come pay a visit. And at one point, when the Death Eaters discover that Lupin and Tonks are having a baby, Voldemort tells Draco that maybe he can babysit the cubs. Now, given that the Malfoy family are so shouty about the fact that they're purebloods, it wouldn't do well to have a werewolf in the family now, would it? So this must explain why they kind of defect away from the Death Eaters at the end of the books. So with regards to this fan theory, I'm in.
It was all a dream.
There's a theory amongst Potterheads that Harry might not have been the boy who lived, but was in fact just the boy who lived under the stairs and went slightly mad, which is not as catchy, I'll grant you. This theory states that Harry actually imagined the whole saga, driven to insanity from his aunt and uncle's mistreatment. The meat of this theory comes from Harry Potter screenwriter Steve Kloves, who once revealed that in the first draft of the script for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, that Harry would talk to his broken toy soldiers, and his pet spider, Alistair. The whole point of this was that when Hagrid appeared to have that long, laboured conversation with Harry, you wouldn't know if Harry was a reliable narrator or not, and be unsure if Hagrid was real. Rowling actually responded to this one. She said, "I think that's a fabulous point, and it speaks so perfectly to the truth of the books. I've heard it suggested to me more than once that Harry actually did go mad in the cupboard, and that everything that happened subsequently was some sort of fantasy life he developed to save himself." It was all a dream is pretty much the worst ending in any type of fiction. Bar the ending of I Am Legend, that was just straight up terrible, so on principle I refuse to buy into this fan theory. I do, however, mourn the loss of Alistair the spider. I feel like he could have been a really positive addition to the cast.
Well, thank you.
So there we are, 5 Harry Potter fan theories that make me want to reread the books and watch the movies, looking for more clues. For more videos like this, subscribe to GameSpot and we'll see you next week.